The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America is here to empower you with knowledge so you can talk with your healthcare team and advocate for your health. Dr. Stukas, there's some exciting news in the world of epinephrine, and there's a few new forms that are being currently going through the process of FDA approval and clinical trials and things like that. What can you tell us about these new forms, whether it's the sublingual or the intranasal epinephrines? And what can you tell us about how we think they might work compared to the injectable epinephrine?
Yeah, as you mentioned, these are exciting times. Traditionally we've had one way to deliver epinephrine, and that's through an auto-injector or a needle into the outside part of the thigh to make sure it gets absorbed in the body. And there are these new products that have been developed and being investigated, which show a lot of promise for showing similar efficacy to the epinephrine that we give through a shot. We know there's a lot of needle phobia. We know that there's a lot of hesitancy for people when using epinephrine when they're having severe allergic reactions. Most of us, myself included, don't really like the idea of giving ourselves an injection. So it's nice to have these alternate versions, hopefully available in the near future. The way they've been studied, it's interesting. So if you look at the auto injectors and the needle form of epinephrine, there are no randomized controlled trials that actually show that it works in treating anaphylaxis. It makes a lot of sense because what epinephrine does inside the body, and we've used it for years and years and years, and we know that it does work, but there's no good study that shows that it does. At least as far as the gold standard of how we study these things. So when we think about the nasal sprays, and there's two currently in development, as well as the film that you put under the tongue for absorption. The way that these have been studied is in regards to pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic data. So what that means is they take a bunch of healthy volunteers or volunteers who have various types of allergic conditions and things like that, not actually experiencing anaphylaxis. They give them the epinephrine, and then they monitor their vital signs to see if they actually see a change in heart rate and blood pressure and things like that that shows the epinephrine is actually having an impact. And then they also monitor in the blood the peak time to concentration as well as the maximal concentration of the epinephrine. And then they compare it basically to the studies that have been done on the needle form, whether it's given through a needle or through an auto-injector. And interestingly, at least from all the data that's been shared so far, it shows that these nasal forms and the sublingual form of epinephrine is very comparable to how we give epinephrine through an injection, so which is very exciting. So I think it's important for people to understand how these are being studied, how the FDA is going to hopefully approve them, because we aren't going to have those head-to-head trials because thankfully, I should say, there's no IRB in the world that's going to approve sort of, not treating somebody experiencing anaphylaxis and then treating them and randomizing them to epinephrine and things like that. So that may come after these hit the market, and we'll see if investigators look at it that way. But as for now, the data look very reassuring, and we're just all waiting for approval and availability.
And I think the important thing is that patients and caregivers are going to have choices. So for some people, they may want to stick with what's been available. For others, they may be more comfortable trying some of these new forms. So it's really great for everyone to have the choices.